experts and our internal people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened.
You gotta go to the chat, embed the chat.
And they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent $100 billion or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any. They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us.
That must be because my camera is.
He didn't do that.
Not on
He's
yet.
getting all. You got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have, our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. See what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine.
The world is so much
Japan
safer now.
and South Korea, because they understand
Asshole.
that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do
Stupid generator ran out of
is
gas.
that we spend all the money.
And I
So
told
to kill us on
myself
trade, I made great trade deals with the European countries. Because
earlier in
you
the
add them
afternoon,
up,
I
they're about
better
the same
remember to
size
do that.
economically.
I didn't remember to do
The
that.
same size as the United States.
So we're all of a
And
sudden
they were
sitting here in the
no
dark.
Cars, no, they don't want anything that we have. But we're
Sorry
supposed to
about
take
that.
their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question, would you guard us against Russia, at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time. And they said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next month.
Billions and billions. He likes to say
now
billions.
we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day,
January 6th, here we go.
To stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent.
Good
Good
pivot.
Taxes ever.
Good pivot.
We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world.
Yep.
All of the opponent because you can't beat them fair and square.
Ooh.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody.
Said she was responsible.
Filmmaker, they say. But she's saying, oh, no.
Oh, is he
it's my
playing with an earpiece?
responsibility. I was
No,
responsible
maybe not.
for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard.
Yes, he did.
And she turned them down.
Yep,
And the
she
mayor
did.
In writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be
We're
there.
streaming on
and
X
I said,
again?
you know what? There's a lot of people
Yep.
coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her, and she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
Yep.
President Biden?
Good.
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it.
Did he say he was
talked-
watching it?
Talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. But he went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He didn't do a damn thing, and these people should be in jail, and they should be the ones who are.
What is he even saying?
And he wants to let them all out, and now he says if he loses again, such a
January
whiner that he
6th.
is, that it could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Bloodbath.
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down
That's
many
right.
other cities. You go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing. The Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to
Unbelievable.
jail for that.
Yep.
If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President
Yep.
Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at.
Oh, there goes the
The fact
convicted
of the matter is,
felon.
He is.
Come on,
what
man.
he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all
That's
of
not
them,
true.
every
They
one
hid
of those men
texts.
Convicted. They turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots, come on.
Oh, there it
I asked
is.
him the first
Come
two
on, man.
Debates we had first time around. I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about now? Will you denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month,
Oh,
you said when
Jesus.
elected you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon. Very high level.
It
His
went
son is
there.
convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of
Yeah, that's right,
limitations
that's
lapse
right.
on the most important things.
Yep.
But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian
Ukraine
people that
corruption.
we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever
Get him,
said
get him,
that,
get him, get him.
that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right
Nice.
to you, sir, You want to respond?
Glad to
Go
see
ahead.
you,
I'll give
Sherry
a minute to
Lee.
respond.
That's okay.
idea
We had an
that
interruption.
I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous.
Outrageous.
It's simply a lie, number one.
It's a lie.
Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before.
This is probably
Number
his best
three,
moment.
the
Yeah,
crime
but what do you
that
think
are
about the
still charged with.
retribution
Think of all the civil
Biden's been
penalties.
doing
I know.
against
How many
Trump?
millions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
An
I
alley
didn't have
cat.
sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case.
That's right.
That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent.
That's
because
right.
he thought it was going to damage me. But when
That's
the
right.
public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money
Are
in
you
the
able to
last
see
2
the
weeks
chat?
than we've ever taken in
You
the
able to see
history
it?
of any campaign. I don't think
The
any
combined
campaign
chat or
has
not?
ever taken.
Just the X
Hundreds
chat.
of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam.
here.
And it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't
on
win
YouTube.
fair and square.
Thank you,
Okay.
President Trump.
And I'm here
President
on
Biden,
Twitter.
you have said, quote, Donald
Back
Trump
in-
and his MAGA
Probably got
Republicans are
364
determined to
views.
destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think of any president say, do you ever hear any presidents say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided.
Oh,
to run
God,
because
they're
of
very
Iraq.
fine people
I
on
said I
both
wasn't
sides.
gonna run
Hoax.
again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic
Oh,
bio
my God.
they sang when back in Germany. And when the young woman got killed, I spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides."
Oh,
Lie.
American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields.
We're
carrying
not
torches,
fine people. He
singing-
didn't say that.
singing
He
anti-Semitic
specifically
bio.
excluded and said,
Swastikas.
not the
Fine
Nazis.
people.
Fuck
This is
you,
a guy who says
liar.
Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are. The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
look at his eyes.
Both
Oh,
of you
yeah,
know
he's
that
lost
song's
like a
been
deer in the
totally
headlight.
wiped out.
Programmed.
Because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on this. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without
It's a
question,
dumpster fire.
The worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it.
There you go.
The debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place.
That's right.
Every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day, it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story.
Taken out
He
of
knows
context,
that. And
bullshit
he didn't run because
lie.
of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden.
And debunk. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he
He
didn't
didn't
deserve to
say
be
that.
president.
It's a
Didn't
lie.
deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated. We saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying their
Losing his voice.
His own vice president. Look, there's a reason why
Yep.
40 of his 44
Sounds
top
feeble.
cabinet officers
Yeah.
refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Because Mike Pence
Thank
was
you,
a
President Biden.
snake.
We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, sorry, boys and girls, and we had a little gasoline generator problem, and man, oopsie, yeah, that was really upsetting. Like we've been like all day
Oh, my
looking
goodness.
forward to this, right? I'm all stoked up. I'm all wired. I'm out of cigarettes. You know, we're trying to quit smoking, and we're just like all stoked up for this thing. And yeah, all of a sudden, boom! I'm sitting in the dark, and I just went,
Yeah. We live off grid.
crap. Yeah, we live off grid, so that's what happened. It wasn't the big bag meanie in the sky. It wasn't CNN that knocked us off. I don't know if YouTube is digesting us well over there or not. I don't know if we're going to get a strike or what. We're not supposed to be doing this CNN thing. They're very, very upset. Now, what you're seeing right now, currently, is we're in a pee break, aren't we? This is one of the 2 scheduled urination breaks.
Are we back already?
We've cut away so that you do not see Biden coming and going. I don't think we're going to see Trump coming and going. So yeah, there are 2 bathroom breaks negotiated because everybody's got to pee. Once every 30 minutes or so, right?
Yep.
Of course, you can't hold your water
We
for
like-
90 minutes.
We like peeing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, very good, very good.
Peeing
Yeah, I
good.
mean, I get it. I take care of my. Don't play that background. That's no more of that than that. Yeah, that's good. Ugh. So anyway, I don't know. How do you guys think it's going so far? I think I'm surprised actually that Biden is hitting all the talking points. Right? Mm-hmm. He seems to be like well coached, right? But it seems to come off very robotic.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just like
Angry.
angry, and yeah, he looks like the grumpy old man that Walter, right? Walter, yeah, that's exactly what it comes off as. It doesn't come off as it's just sort of attacking at Trump, this, that, and the other thing, and I don't think it's really a good look. But the other thing is, what's up with his voice?
Yeah.
He's losing his voice, man. And it makes him, look very, 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 very feeble.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, but historically speaking, when Nixon and Kennedy had a televised debate, and it was one of the first televised debates, I guess, ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And apparently, most of the time people had listened to it, and then tuning in over the radio box, listening to the debate between, Truman and whatever. But, they finally put it on television, and apparently Richard Nixon was a sweaty-ass mess.
Right.
Right? and I guess it was JFK. Looked great, looked wonderful.
Right. Calm.
And shifted the whole thing, right? So I'm thinking that the old physical condition, right? Yeah, he's still standing. He's kind of talking. But these things are like, they spend 2 minutes and, you can't really talk about anything of length of time in 2 minutes. It's very, very, very hard. But clearly he's just, ushering through a whole list of talking points. So far we've seen the January 6th thing, right? We're insurrectionists.
Keep talking
Convicted
about that.
felon. That convicted felon thing, when it dropped, was just so corny as hell, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So lame.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was so bad.
Are we back? All right.
Yeah, turn it up. Let's
Let's talk
listen.
about persistent challenges you both faced in your first terms, and you'd certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, black families still earn far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die for pregnancy-related causes, and black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate.
Yeah, I agree
of
with
white
you,
Americans.
Anders.
What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there's more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're providing housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporate...
You know, that darn stutter of his.
Corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. In addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half. We got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide those child care protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left.
Uh-oh.
What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any black family, first-time home buyer, should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started.
Black people?
Make sure we're in a situation where all those black families and those black individuals who provided had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, doctor, and anything to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest was forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for black
So
families.
did they do these things already or what? I don't even
And he
understand.
caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody.
That's right.
It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was
That's right,
perfect.
1.9%,
So
boys
All
and girls.
he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New Scam and all of the other, all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now.
Yep.
It could be
There you
18,
go.
It could
Good
be
point.
19 and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs.
That's right.
And they're taking Hispanic jobs. And you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you.
Wow.
That
was good.
It's
There was
true.
no inflation. when
Black
I
people are
became
mad in
president.
Chicago.
Why? The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy, absolutely decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs.
I can't believe
Thousands
this,
of
Dennis.
millions.
Thousands of millions.
We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, if the ACA has increased, I made sure that there's
This is so bad.
$8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again. And they're going to try again if they win. You find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing any, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing.
Oh,
for
now we want to
equity,
cut the cops. So
equity,
they're not the architects of defund the police. Oh, my
There's a lot going
God.
on. But in inflation, he caused it. There's tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating.
Oh, no, it was a really hot summer.
Intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels.
Oh, Lord.
Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
We
Let
want
me
clear
just go
water.
back
We want
to
clear
what he said
air.
about the police, how close the police are to him.
There you
Almost
go.
Every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump.
That's right.
Almost every police group.
That's right.
And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s.
That's
we can't forget
right.
that.
Yeah.
Well, look at him.
Super
Look at him. Look at
predators was
him.
his name.
How dare
Called it to
you?
him.
Look at him.
And they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded.
That's right.
And the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job. Great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population.
That's right.
Because he's done a horrible job.
They're fleeing
for
in
black
droves.
people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till
we
you
missed
see
it.
these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started,
Ooh.
and you haven't
That's a
seen
good one.
anything yet. It's a disaster.
You 38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate
Clean
clean
water.
and I want absolutely clean air. And we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental
That's right.
numbers.
Why do we have to belong to
And
the
my
World
top
Club?
Environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
Because that's just income
where the
redistribution,
hell
wealth
he's been.
redistribution.
The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way, black.
It sounds like he's going to drop
colleges-
over
I've
dead, like
came
any
up
second from a
with
heart
emails for
attack.
HBCUs, historic black universities. and
You know, like that
colleges,
movie we
because
saw?
they don't have those. They don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. They just don't have the money. But now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord. I immediately joined it because if we reach
Paris Peace
1.5
Accords.
degrees Celsius at any one point, where there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it.
The only
Knocked on the
existential
wall that
threat to
I'd done.
humanity is climate change.
The Paris Accord was
Wow.
going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing.
Right.
It was a ripoff of the
Right.
United States.
That's all it was.
And I ended it because
Yep.
I didn't want to waste
That's
that
right. It was
money because
everybody
it
else's
treated us
advantage
horribly.
but
We were
ours.
the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying
Mm-hmm.
into it, and it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody.
Taking all the
And look,
resources up.
I have the biggest heart on the stage, I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals.
hate that
and they're going to
snide.
be taking over Social Security.
I've had a stroke
He is
smile.
destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Or I just did what poopy in my pants.
The idea
Look.
is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able to, the United States can't get its pollution under control? One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half.
Man,
We have
this is a train wreck.
made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people will learn how to deal with climate, just like
The Climate
Peace
Corps.
And we're going to
Yeah.
we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution.
Yeah.
But
We're
the
gonna
idea
change the
that
temperature of the
he
planet.
claims that he has the
We
biggest
will.
heart up here, and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate. I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
Thank you.
Thank you. That'll be
So
enough.
every
Thank
day,
you.
Millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
Yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now,
Oh,
everybody
fair
making
share
under
again,
$170,000
speech.
pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I'm proposing that everybody, they pay, the millionaires pay 1%. 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think
That's
that
a
will be
lot of
able to
time,
help,
82
keep
seconds.
Social
Holy
Security
shit.
solvent, or is
Two.
that one enough?
Oh,
Well,
2
that-
seconds.
That one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security.
Where did they
He wants to
get
cut
this?
Social
We're
Security and
constantly
Medicare.
going to get rid of
Both
Social
times.
Security.
And
I thought he
and
only
it's
had
the
2
Idiots.
seconds left.
program put forward by the
That's
House
what I think. He said
Republican
80,
caucus.
82
They
seconds left.
Yeah, the caption
in
said
fact,
2.
want to cut it as well.
82.
The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where I talk about education for black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition.
More money to send people to
Thank you, President Biden.
indoctrination
President
camps.
Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face. About so many other things, too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace.
Yep.
But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country,
Yep.
and they're putting them on
That's
the Social Security,
right.
they're
More
putting them onto
burden
Medicare,
on the
Medicaid,
social
they're putting them in our
services
hospitals,
system.
They're taking the place of our citizens.
That's
What
right.
they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world. The reason why we have the most successful economy.
Because of all the
We're
people.
doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to
It was
afford.
scholars.
President Trump, both you and President Biden.
Is that like the
have tried to
51
address this
intelligence
issue,
agencies?
But the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put him there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan
withdrawal.
Horror show. The most embarrassing
Horror
moment
show,
in the
yeah.
history of our country.
Exactly.
He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you
Nope.
fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people?
Accountability.
Many from prisons, many
No.
from mental institutions. Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And
That's
I
right.
don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
He's
We're
right.
the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America.
We're the laughing
There's
stock.
nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world.
Filled with
No one thinks
trannies.
we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody. Number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, I don't know the exact number, presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. One from best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with
Eyes are so
childcare.
big.
He did for virtually nothing to child care. We
Yeah,
should
he is-
significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have
Thank you, President
child care
Biden.
facilities.
President Trump, the question was about what
To
would
hold
make
and to
childcare
have
more affordable. If you want to take your
till
minute.
death do us
Just so you
part.
understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show
He's
you.
yelling.
And they rate me one of the best, okay?
With his mic
And
off.
If I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best.
Look
Nobody's
at that
ever
weird grin.
created an economy like us.
Oh,
Nobody
God.
ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up
Deer in
and
the
I'd see
headlights there.
politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more
hit the other
business.
mute,
Apple
too.
and all
Both.
these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about. He's increased the tariff. He will increase the taxes on middle class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have
Look
to
at those
pay the
eyes.
Look at butt chin Joe. Look
and
at the
all
chin,
things are
man.
Important. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised. He somehow helped the middle class. The middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest
What?
trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you,
We were at the
President
highest.
Biden.
You lost
Thank you,
160
President Biden.
dollars.
Let's discuss an epidemic impacting
Wow.
millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose
this is
deaths
painful.
in this country has
This is
gone
hard.
up. Under
Yeah, it
your
is.
It's
term,
just
it went
sad.
up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China.
No,
He
I
never
agree
took
with
them
you,
away.
ex-Task.
Because it's too much money. It's tremendous.
Trump
And we
isn't
saved our
firing on all
steel industries,
cylinders
and
either.
There's more to come, but he hasn't done
No.
that.
I don't
But he
think
hasn't
so.
cut the tariffs because he
I
can't.
think he's
He
being-
does.
It's too much money.
He has
But
a
he's got the
tendency to
largest
stretch the
deficit
truth every once in a
the
while.
history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing.
But
to
he's
us as
not-
country.
he's not a crook
They are
like everybody
killing
makes
us
him
as
out
a
to be.
country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
Yep. Close the border.
President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot. And we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border.
The human
the
trafficking's
worst thing I've ever seen.
bad. Bad.
Numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put
Look at
together.
the
You mean-
eyes.
It's bipartisan
You mean
deal.
where the gates
More
are? What if
fentanyl
they go in the
machines, more
between
people to detect
ports of
drugs,
entry?
more numbers of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues, said, "Don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically." No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you,
the
President Biden.
machines.
President Trump, and again, the
Need
question
more
is
money
about
for
Americans
machines.
in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico.
Yep.
He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage.
Yep.
Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter. I think a good guy. And he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago. But Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people.
Holy
I got 58
crap.
people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term.
Jesus.
How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized as being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look, I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in.
These numbers are going to glaze over
growing.
people.
By the
Nobody
way, we
believes
brought
this
a lot of
shit.
People, the whole idea of computer chips. We used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and to bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States, and guess what? Those fabs they
Guess
What?
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 to
Guess what?
to
What?
build these chips.
That's a childish
Those fabs
thing.
pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them, and there's billions. About $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America.
So nothing ever needs
All
to
our problems
improve,
and all our opportunities.
like ever.
We're the most
Just
progressive
always the
country in
best.
the world in getting
Yeah, right.
things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and our.
They're saying he's wearing an earpiece.
Those who he cuddles up
I think
to,
he is in his right
Kim
ear.
Jong-un,
That's what they're
respects love
saying.
letters to, and
Can't do
Putin, et cetera.
that.
They
No.
don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow
Don't you
up,
think Trump
would
would
be
see it?
82 at the
Yeah.
end of your second term. What do you say
People
to
talking
voters who
about
have
it.
concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests.
That's right, cognitive tests.
As you know, we made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one.
Those
Like, go
eyes.
through the first 5 questions. He couldn't
Yeah.
do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And,
See, scoffing.
we
They
knock on wood
scoff.
wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same.
He looks
But
great,
I
though,
was
doesn't
willing
he?
to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't
Well,
do
he's the only
I
one that
asked
never aged.
Dr. Ronnie Jackson,
right.
who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is
Whoa.
6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4".
He's not 6'5".
What's he
Anyway,
saying?
Anyway, just take a look at what he says he is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf with you if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie that he's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8. But I had, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Who's-
you know
let's not
how
act
many
like
rounds-
They're not
President Trump,
muted.
we're going to
21
turn-
Let's
No, they're
not.
not. It's totally
to
stupid.
a specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election?
Oh, God.
And you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable.
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his
Yeah, that's right, he
political
wouldn't be an indictment.
opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine.
That's right.
We are very, very close to World
Absolutely.
War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want.
God, look at those eyes.
Just do what you want.
Yeah.
There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all, and required response. The idea, I can't think of a
He's not
single
blinking at
major
all.
leader in the world
Look at
who
him.
wouldn't trade places with the job I've done and what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful.
He's not
it's because of the
blinking
people.
yet.
Not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now,
Still not blinking.
We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again,
One blink.
if you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me.
He's not as confused as
Now
I
he's
was
gonna take the
expecting him
whole
to be.
thing
I mean, he's
from
hopped
this
up.
man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this with... He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia. Because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people.
Yep.
It's so sad.
And we wasted
They've lost so
$140
many
billion.
people. They've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely.
There you go.
I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see.
When the
You're a
election's
whiner.
over.
When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back. With more from the CNN presidential debate.
Oh, something
live
snapped in you when you lost.
I thought, when does it end?
You lost your mind. Well, I don't know. It's 90 minutes, but they're breaks, right? So they started at 9. It's 10:30. This is bathroom. This is pee break 2, right? Turn that down a little bit. Welcome to the TruthSlinger program here, Wartime Christianity live streaming part 2. Yeah, very good to have you here. You can just let that sometimes go all the way through, you know.
I know.
Just seems like the crowd is running away as they're clapping.
Okay.
You just let it go naturally, you know. We worked hard on those sounds, make them just right. So anyway, there you go. Shut up. All right, I suppose I asked for that.
Boo.
Anyway, I don't know. It's I was hoping Trump would do a little better, and I was hoping that Biden would do a little worse. And I think number 2 is not hooked up. You're number 3, Jen. You're number 3. There you go. I thought that he maybe in this last trimester here he's gonna fall apart. Because quick diaper chafe a sniffy. They're gonna go sniff his diaper. I don't know, man, Ted. Clearly when you look at the guy, he is just he's not there. He's regurgitating a bunch of talking points that were fed to him, and they did a pretty good job hopping up the old man, right? And he's kind of spitting some stuff out, but as someone earlier said, you know, he's just kind of repeating himself a number of times. He keeps doing it.
So here's a little. Can I break in?
Yeah, go
Here's
ahead.
a little breaking news. Apparently, he said that the Border Patrol Union completely supports him and endorses him, and they tweeted out shortly after, to be clear, we never have and never will endorse Biden.
Oh, so he lied. Okay, all right. Yeah, well, such a surprise about that. Well, thanks for that fact check there, honey. Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's hard, man. Yeah, I know, man. I know. But what other choice do we have, Mr. Libertarian? Right? I get it. But, you know, I have faith, right? And that faith that I have is that this guy is raised up to do this. He's the only president who didn't. And I mean, I'll tell you, go look at comparison pictures of presidents when they start their term and they end their term. Just even 4 years. That job is so hard. And they all have aged, except for Trump. I don't know. He just thrives on it or whatever.
He looks
and
great.
He's right. And I guess all the stuff in the Diet Coke there, whatever the sweetener is that's in Diet Coke, is apparently a hell of a preservative. Probably going to turn out to be one of the greatest health foods ever invented, and that we all should have been drinking it all along, right?
Right.
But all right, here we go. Jack that sound back up for us.
Now time for the candidates to deliver their closing statements.
Closing statements after the pee
predetermined by
break.
a coin toss. We're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
Oh, boy.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again.
Can't afford eggs.
This guy has increased
Yeah, we can't
taxes
afford eggs,
because of
right.
the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare to for the ability for the us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along, it's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credit people have for child care.
Does anybody
We're going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country.
Are you
We're going to
detecting
continue to fight to
sincerity
bring
here?
down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President
It's
Trump,
just a
you now have 2
list
minutes
he
for your
rattled
closing
off.
statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran,
right.
including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
All right. Wow.
I'm kind of curious, actually, to see what they think.
I don't know. You want to let it roll for a little bit and see what they say?
Yeah.
All right.
Stick with us.
All right. Yeah.
Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to listen to this nonsense, right?
Yep.
But I thought that was lame. Well, at least I don't know.
The president and former president making their way off the CNN debate stage. Looks like Jill Biden, the first lady, has come out. Former President Trump walking off the stage. The first debate of the 2024 campaign and the earliest presidential debate ever now in the books and in front of the voters. Tonight, along with Aaron Burnett, the first word on what those voters might make of it from our political professionals, from our CNN flash poll. And
what did you think of the moderation?
We'll be talking to surrogates of Vice President Harris, getting fact checks from our Daniel Dale and new reporting from inside both campaigns with me here, CNN political commentator Scott
I think
Jennings,
it was okay,
Kate Bedingfield, David
considering.
Jones,
Yeah.
I thought that they were kind of fair, but I don't believe that Biden didn't know the question.
Anderson,
right.
This was a game-changing debate in the sense that right now, as we speak, there
one or
is
two
a
of them
deep,
felt like
a
queued up for
wide,
him.
and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party. It started minutes into the debate, and it continues right now.
Uh-oh.
It involves party strategists. It involves elected officials. It involves fundraisers.
Uh-oh.
And they're having conversations about the president's performance, which they
Leave
think
it go.
was dismal, which they think will hurt other people down the party in the ticket. And they're having conversations about what they should do about it. Some
Yeah.
of those conversations include, should we go to the
DOA,
White House
baby.
and ask the president to step aside? Other of the conversations are about, should prominent Democrats go public with that call? Because they feel this debate was so terrible. They do say,
here it
moments in the
is.
debate later, the president got better and got his footing.
Yeah,
but then at
you
the
know
end,
what?
even
It's
his
good.
closing
Let's
statement
watch
was a
this
little
for a
halting.
while. This
The
is good.
contrast
This is
between the
good,
two
guys.
candidates. Let me be clear. None of them, and a lot of Republicans, don't think Donald Trump had a great night. Donald Trump broke the fact-check machine more than I can count tonight. That will be on the record as we go forward. He refused to answer some very specific and direct questions about his conduct, about January 6th and what all. So that will be dealt with out there. And sometimes there's a parallel universe between the political elites and the American people. It'd be nice to
But
see what the
Biden
voters
didn't
say.
look well.
But I can tell you, it started minutes in. It started with the first couple of answers, and it has continued throughout the night from a, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, to what do we do about this? And it involves very
what do we
senior
do
people in the
about
Democratic
this?
Party, including elected officials, saying we have a problem.
And
Get
just to
Michelle
co-sign what John is
Obama.
saying, I mean, the panic that I am hearing from Democrats is not like anything that I have heard
Oh!
in this campaign so far. And a lot of it has to do with, first of all, there was a deep frustration about Trump's lies. I mean, he lied a lot tonight. But the problem for Biden was that Trump was able to take sometimes incredible falsehoods and turn them into some kind of argument, whereas Biden's answers were, in a lot of cases, not coherent. Deeply problematic that he was not able to take pretty straightforward answers and answer them to the American public. And then also, at some points, bringing things up that teed up Trump attacks. So there's a real concern here tonight that there's been some real damage done that cannot be undone. Biden solidified the perception among voters, but especially among his base.
I thought they were going to try and
hoping
spin
that
it.
tonight would be a game changer.
They're jettisoning
They are
him.
now seeing
All
president
part of the plan.
who is in the White House, who
We're
they
seeing
do
it
not
happen,
necessarily
guys.
believe can do this for another 4 years.
They're cutting him loose, man.
Look, I can't argue with either of them.
Oh, Axelrod.
Democratic leaders are reacting to this poll. We said at the beginning that each person had
why
a
is his
fundamental
shoulder all
goal.
wet?
And for Biden, that goal was to appear energetic, engaged.
The bluebird of
and look
happiness
like
shit
someone
on his
who
coat or
is
something?
capable of serving for another 4 years for president. That was job number one. I actually think he scored a bunch of points. I think if you just judge this on sort of policy stuff, he did score a bunch of points on issues like abortion, for example, on some of the economic issues. But there is a feeling. I think there was a sense of shock, actually, at how he came out at the beginning of this debate, how his voice sounded. He seemed a little disoriented. He did get stronger as the debate went on, but by that time, I think the panic had set in. And I
Yeah,
think
well,
you're
they
gonna
give
hear
him shots
discussions
along the way each
that I don't
time he
know,
took a pee break.
will lead to anything, but there are going to be discussion about whether he should.
Oh, this was
continue.
bad.
And
I'm glad
I
we
think
got back
part
on.
of it is
Yeah, me
Donald
too.
Trump did not meet his mission either. He could not resist the the temptation to be nasty, to prevaricate about a whole
wasn't
bunch of things,
nasty.
about his
No.
own record, about Biden's record, and to seem petty and small at times. So what you saw was a candidate who's deeply vulnerable and a president who may not be able to take advantage of it.
Listen, if anybody in America thinks that was even close to being an okay debate by Joe Biden, I'm living in a parallel universe.
Uh-oh.
That was an unmitigated disaster for President Biden from the second he walked out to the closing statement. The biggest issue for Democrats is abortion, and he couldn't give an answer. He gave an answer, he couldn't even give a coherent answer on the biggest issue for
Yeah, that's
for
right.
Democrats
That's
tonight.
very true.
I've heard from leading Democrats across the United States, elected governors, congressmen, who are texting me and saying, I'm worried I'm going to lose if Joe Biden's at the top of the ticket. Bob Casey, I promise
it's
you
on
tonight, in the state of
fire.
Pennsylvania,
The house is on
throwing up in his
fire.
mouth because he knows that if he's got to stand next to Joe Biden, he's going down in Pennsylvania. If he's on the ticket, I don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah, look, it was a really
Yeah, I
disappointing
agree with
debate
you,
performance
Ted.
from Joe Biden. I don't think there's any other way to slice it. His biggest issue that he had to prove
Yeah,
to
but
American
see, if they
people was that he had the
parachute
energy
someone in
and the
at the last
stamina,
minute,
and he didn't do that. And so I think
easier for them
that
to
is
lie
of
about the
concern.
record.
And I think for a lot of Democrats, that's very disappointing. I will say Donald Trump also had some really rough moments in this debate. And
No, he
talking to
didn't.
the Biden campaign, they say, their dials started really moving away from Trump as he was increasing his personal attacks on Biden. So I think there was a lot about his kind of character and the kind of personal nastiness that he was putting on display.
No.
That doesn't help him with the swing voters that he needs. And I also
What
think you saw
personal
him continue
nastiness
to
do
get
they
sort of
just
more and more
everything they
animated
hear
across
him
the course of
say,
the
they just
debate
go, "Ooh, that
and,
was
give
nasty."
some really problematic answers about January 6th, some really problematic answers about Putin. So, Donald Trump did not get off scot-free tonight by any stretch. But look, there is no two ways about it. That was not a good debate for Joe Biden.
Ben?
Ooh.
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I
Here
work for
comes
Joe
Van
Biden.
Jones.
He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all, and he looked. I'll give you the analysis. You kind of have the old man versus the con man.
God.
I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that.
Ooh.
And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that was not what we needed from Joe Biden, and it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain for what we saw tonight.
And if I may just add to that, I think Joe Biden lost in the first 3 minutes. I think a lot of voters probably tuned out, and millions of people are having conversations with their families, with
That's
their
right.
friends, of if the president is up to the task and if he should step aside. And I'm someone who believes the former president is a threat to democracy. I think he is a threat to the
A
America
threat to
as we know it. He
democracy.
wants to fundamentally change our institutions. He has laid out what his plan is. I am not confident that that is the man to take him on. You cannot tell me democracy is on the line and then give that performance tonight. If, based on that, in 18 weeks, Donald Trump will be the president-elect.
The
Yep.
people doing focus groups tonight, and we'll see if our
Oh,
dial
boy.
group with Laura Coates confirms
CNN
this,
is
that
bailing
Biden actually
on
scores pretty
Biden
well on the
completely.
issues when he's talking about the substance. And Trump's numbers went down both because he was ducking questions, he was lying about some things, and he was refusing to answer. And some of it was the tone. They don't like him. So when you
Yeah,
see
Wade,
that,
you're absolutely
when
right.
you see sort of the statistics.
They'll be able to
You're going to look
cover
at
up
like, oh, that's a mixed bag. But to Vance's point
the
about the
cheating in
president's
the election
performance, that's what
if
caused
they
the
have a
panic.
last-minute
So the
parachuting
question is,
candidate.
and my question actually is, what happens? Because to his, it's a great political strength of Joe Biden is his resilience and his stubbornness. It's also sometimes a blind spot because he is so stubborn. It's going to be very hard to someone, and I don't know who it is, who could go to Joe Biden and say,
Look at Van
you need
Jones.
to do
Look
this.
at him.
Number
He looks
one.
like he wants
and
to
the question is
puke.
again, like,
Yep.
I'm just telling you, to Abby's point, I've been doing this for 30-something years, going on 40 years, and I have never, ever had what happened on this thing tonight happen in the middle of a debate. It
Oh, your
started
phone
early,
blew
and
up?
it continued. And to Van's point,
Oh.
Van made a very important point.
That would happen.
These are people who love Joe Biden, who credit Joe Biden for kicking Donald Trump out of the White House. They're Democrats. The Democratic Party is a very diverse party. It fights about a lot of things. It has generational issues. It's had regional issues and everything else. The thing that unites
Yeah,
the
but
Democratic
somebody
Party
else in the
is
chat
trying
said
to
it
keep
earlier.
Donald Trump from getting back into the White House. They love
They
Joe
didn't
Biden for
notice
kicking him
before
out.
that he
They don't
was
want him
doing
back.
poorly?
They came into this debate nervous. That Biden
Yeah,
was in
it's
a
a
weak
We just
position.
noticed
They leave
tonight
this
for the
debate
first
panicked.
time that
John,
Joe
if you love
Biden's
the
not
guy,
well.
how could you put him out there?
That's hard.
If you love him, if you love Joe Biden, if
Ooh.
that was my father, you don't put a guy in that situation.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great point. These guys know this better. These guys know this better because they talk to them. There's this legacy in the Democratic Party. You don't challenge the incumbent because when it's happened in the past, they haven't beaten the incumbent, and then the incumbent has lost the general
It was
election.
actually Donald Trump that helped make Joe Biden the nominee because there was a feeling that if there were a primary, that would weaken, that Biden would probably win, but it would weaken him in a general election. And so there were people who could have run and didn't run because the history of that is bad. The point is now he is the nominee of the Democratic Party. This isn't the 60s, okay? Voters choose the nominee. He is the nominee. Only he can decide whether he's going to continue. And as you point out,
Really?
and as Kate knows very well,
is that
this
what he
is a
said,
guy
right?
with a lot of pride and who believes in himself.
You don't
And
think
the
they can
idea
throw
that
him
he's
to the
gonna say,
curb
you know
at the
what, I had a bad
convention?
debate. I think I'm going to walk away from this. I find it hard to
It
believe.
was also, and I'll let you, I know, Scott,
Poor
you've been
Scott.
trying to jump
Poor
in, but
Scott.
it was also, it was an atypically bad performance, okay? And it was also one night. So, yes, was an
Atypical.
important night.
One
yes,
night.
But it was one night in the course of a campaign. So I think let's see how voters
Oh,
react
come
to it.
on. How bad was it, though?
The problem with the one night is that it's a one night that helped confirm people's fears.
Suspicions.
It's
Yeah,
the
that's
one
right,
night
David.
That everybody was watching. It was
Telling
that
the
was
truth.
essentially, Trump said you ought to take a test. That was his test, and people
That's right.
are going to feel that he came up wanting, not on the substance. I think he actually won on the substance.
I do,
I
too,
don't think Trump
in
did
some
well.
ways.
I think what it says to a lot of people, a lot of active Democrats is, man, we can beat this guy, but I don't know if we can beat him.
I don't know
with
about
the
this.
press
He didn't
guys.
beat him on the substance, but
when we came on,
he delivered all the
before this
talking
debate,
points he was
I
supposed
said
to, but
I
in
thought
a
this
horrible
candidacy was
way.
teetering. And everybody jumped on me.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Every single person out here. And I just, the candidacy has fallen. Okay.
Yep.
Van, I know you're speaking from your heart. I'm worried about the president. We should pray for the president. I think his advisors, I think the White House, and I think his family have a lot of explaining to do
Oh,
to their
my
party
God.
and to the American people. This night, this one night, was caused by and asked for by the Biden team. They wanted this night.
Oh,
And
wow.
this is what we got. We have been told for weeks by Democrats who say, oh, in private meetings, I've seen Joe Biden do cartwheels and
Spry
handstands
and
while
chipper.
doing trigonometry while solving all the nation's problems.
Yeah.
We now know that every single person who said that has been lying to the American
Lying.
people.
Including Kevin McCarthy.
We've been told, Kate,
I mean, I'm just saying.
everything we've been told
Shut
about
up,
his
Kate.
mental acuity by these Democrats has been a lie, and everything we think we knew has been confirmed. I got a text from a friend. She's not terribly political. She'd maxed out to Biden in the last election because she hates Donald Trump. She said to me, I will never forgive the Democratic Party for this election. If the Democrats truly believe that he is an existential threat to democracy, and that's not just some talking point, they will wake up in the morning and they will do something else because this is not sustainable.
Tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning.
There are Democrats who are panicking, and then there are a lot of Republicans who did not want to vote for Donald Trump, who do not want to vote for Donald Trump, who are also panicking tonight. I heard from one.
No,
who
no, no,
said,
no, no.
This is scary. That's how it was described.
No,
to
no,
me.
no,
And
no.
so
Shut up. Shut up.
There were a lot of those feelings.
Yes, Do Something said he may get a visit from Clinton's suicide squad. He might get Epstein.
And that's the other part of what is unfolding tonight in terms of the panic that is out there.
Well, he just might fall asleep with his face down on his pillow. You know, it happens.
Support for third-party candidates, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. highest, and then Jill Stein and Cornel West nowhere near as close. But if you add it all up, you get into the teens in most states when you do that. I think one byproduct out of this is watch and see if those numbers go up a little bit. I'm not saying they're going to go up anywhere
wait.
like a Perot
I've
standard,
never heard
but you get to third-party
CNN
candidates
talk
getting
like
into
this
double digits,
ever.
Then that's really starts to twist.
I mean,
your
this is like,
electoral
they're
map
like,
state
this
depending on who
first
they're
thing
drawing
they
from
said,
state by
holy
state.
shit,
This
this
was
is
already
a
a very
3-alarm
complicated
fire.
race. This is within. Number one, the biggest complication right now is conversation with the Democratic Party. But the other complication is going to be if Joe Biden stays put, and Kate's right, maybe
Not
there'll be
a lot
another
of people
debate.
getting
I'm
sleep
not sure Donald
tonight.
Trump's going to agree to a second debate. Biden's going to need it now. I'm not sure Trump's going to agree to it if the dynamics of the race change.
They'll never
I will
more
also
debate.
watch the third
No,
party.
fuck the debates.
I just want to say one thing.
Forget the debates.
Especially to you two guys. If, for whatever reason, there's a change at the top of the ticket, you guys are in trouble with Donald Trump because the guy who was up there tonight is not a guy who's going to inspire people. He did not show in any way that he has changed from the guy who people have a very positive opinion of for a lot of good reason.
I think Donald
positive?
Trump won several
He
policy
said it wrong.
exchanges tonight.
Yeah, he did
I think
say
he
it
did well
wrong.
on immigration. I think he did well on the economy. I think he did well on inflation. I think he went back to Afghanistan as he should have. The thing he did not do was after he realized that he had Biden beaten on policy and on image, he should have turned the page and sounded an optimistic note about what we can become as a people. And as a
Yeah,
country.
yeah,
He did not
yeah.
do that.
Missed
He continued to
opportunity.
pummel
I agree with
Joe
that.
Biden all night. I understand what you're saying.
It's actually
But at
pretty
the
good
end of the night,
analysis.
very few.
This is
things about the
interesting.
policy
This is
exchanges
interesting.
gonna be remembered.
And normally I can't
People are gonna
stand to watch
remember
this
Joe
channel.
Biden
Yeah,
shuffling.
but that-
But that
But
They're
this
gonna
is
remember him
significant.
Shuffling out.
Now they're the
going to
news.
remember him staring blankly into the camera. They're going to remember him looking down, losing his train of thought. And they're going to remember that everything I thought I knew, but the White House told me don't believe my own eyes,
Right.
is actually true.
But that's not
But
what I'm saying. What I said, Scott, was if Joe Biden were not the candidate, if there was another candidate, I think Donald Trump would be in deep
Yeah, but
trouble.
actually, you guys had the chance.
But if I may, that is such a sad state of affairs. Something I was consistently hearing is what a bad debate in the sense that Donald Trump lied throughout. He misrepresented. He tried to turn away from key points that he
You think
should have
they have
given
enough
answers on
analysts?
and kept deflecting. With any normal generic Democrat next to him, I don't think he would have won the night. But you put somebody who was suffering from the moment that they got out. It was hard to watch.
Suffering
I had
in
to occasionally look away
dementia.
because it was so uncomfortable. I think America deserves better than the options that are in front of them. It's really devastating. And by the way, our allies are watching.
Yeah, look, I mean, the way that I would try to phrase it if I were less emotional is Biden stuttered, but he told the truth. He looked terrible, but his policies were good. Trump spoke plainly, but he lied the whole time. And
Oh,
he
shut
looked
up.
good, but his policies were terrible.
Shut up.
He's going to do nothing on climate change. He was hugging the cactus on abortion. I mean, his policies are terrible. So you have somebody who probably shouldn't be president, and you have somebody who cannot be president in terms of what Donald Trump represents. So we have a problem as a country now, and this might be an opportunity for people to come together and figure this out, because neither one of those people right now are inspiring the confidence that they should inspire, that they can do the job.
Yeah,
in a way
right.
that would be good for the country.
But young voters are up for grabs in this election, and I don't know a voter under 30 who would have watched tonight and could say, I have confidence in Joe Biden.
No, no
casting
way.
my vote for 4 more years of
Yep.
Biden.
Any of the young
and
person
this opens
people are
the door, by
gone.
the way, for the conversation about if Joe Biden remains the candidate, you're not voting for Joe Biden. You are voting for President Kamala Harris. Let's be honest. That is where the Trump campaign is going to go with this. They started down this road with an ad they released today. But this conversation about who you're actually casting your vote for, the volume is going to ratchet up. And I got news for you. She's less popular than he is. That is going to be a big problem for the Democrats if this ticket stays the way it is.
Oh, yeah.
The Scott's Democratic friend
Wow, it's a train wreck,
who
man.
maxed out, right? That's the sentiment you're going to hear, I think, from some of my Democratic friends who are texting me saying, I can't believe this is where we are, right?
Yeah.
I don't forgive, I'm not going to be able to forgive the party for putting in this position.
Look,
Everybody saw it happening. It was a
Trump's lies.
big,
I mean, I spent a lot of time thinking
slow
about this
train
throughout the
wreck.
debate
We've seen
because,
it happen.
You know, we in the media, I sit in the chair and I fact check Trump all the time. So I know these lies by heart at this point. But people watching from home do not. And Biden's job as the other person on the other side of the stage is to be the one to very quickly dispense with the lies and
He
to
didn't
shut
do
them
that.
down. And I don't think that happened enough times in a coherent way to blunt the fact that Trump was taking a universe that was built on a house of lies and building a whole world for the millions of people watching.
Particularly
And
on some of the most basic
on basic
subject
stuff.
matters that
And
President
that
Biden should have been able to just.
That world that he was able to build, it was not knocked down by the president. That is really at the heart of the problem. He may have won when he was making his discrete policy points, but part of the job on the debate stage is dealing with an opponent like Donald Trump who goes like a mile a minute on things that are not true. And if you don't deal with that,
Abby.
I don't know.
I'm so tired of this not true shit. Everything he says is a lie.
I don't think you're giving viewers enough credit. I think what they saw was the Trump that they didn't like. And I don't think he did himself a great service tonight.
But
yes, and I also think we should.
We shall
I also think we
see.
should let voters absorb this and see what they say. Right? Let's look at the dials. Let's look at focus groups. Let's look at where they are next week. We can make our pronouncements, but ultimately voters have to absorb
They're
it.
going to turn your mics off, guys.
Real quickly, on the one thing that that Biden did fact check him on the Charlottesville thing, he was completely wrong. All right, so he's up there talking about Charlottesville and Trump not denouncing the two sides, and Snopes was out last week, 7 months.
That's right, Snopes
7
last
years
week.
too late kind of thing on the deal, and that's the thing Joe Biden's going to fact check him on, something that was.
Which people are going to go to the
We're gonna
internet and
more,
look
with
up?
the panel out here. A lot of notable moments, painful moments from tonight, but as we've been
Painful.
talking about, perhaps a single defining one as well. This one early on.
Oh, God. Here we go.
What happened?
That's it. We got to go watch CNN.
Oh, well,
They
put it on.
They cut the stream. I can't broadcast CNN. Remember, the TV came on, but when we put it in the window, it goes black. So that's it, guys. Yeah, man. I'm gonna talk a little bit.
I'm gonna take this off for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
Eyeglasses are embedded in my head.
So that was great to watch them just come like they lost their minds, man. Oh my God. They're afraid.
Yep.
Yeah. It was not good. He didn't look good, But I was surprised because every time we see him talk, he does that.
Yeah, right.
So I'm kind of like going, okay. I mean, he made it standing up the whole time, right? That was the bar that was set, is that he could get up there and stand. And the things that he did say, although I find most of them to be, the way they're said, they're not true, but they're the Democrat talking points, and he delivered them, and you got to deal with them. But yeah, okay, the wild-eyed stuff. He didn't do that kind of volume regulation stuff that he usually does. That he gets really weird, and all of a sudden he gets loud and aggressive. They didn't do that. But he kind of was up and down a little bit, and when he just looked like he had this far off look in the distance, right?
Yeah.
Warnock. Yeah, I don't know. It moved on to the next
It's
thing.
C-SPAN. They're live. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We're not. Oh, is this C-SPAN live? Is Warnock talking right now?
Yeah.
People like himself. That's why he passed a tax cut that went to the richest of the rich on the backs of ordinary working class.
Yeah, see, they're already spinning, man. They're already shoveling. This is the spin room, isn't it?
For middle and working class people in American history.
I hate the warlock.
And we've got to make sure that we stand up as a nation, stand up for the American covenant, e pluribus unum, out of many, one, and we should always be afraid of somebody who's telling us to be afraid of each other. That's Donald Trump.
Oh, shut up.
America's better than Donald Trump, and I believe that come November 5th, the American people are going to stand up once again and prove it as he did in 2020.
Wow, man. Are you kidding me? They're going out there and saying that was a strong...
We're now going to go to Governor Newsom.
It's Gavin Newsom.
I'll associate myself with many of the comments that were just made.
Jesus, guys.
To me, that was just daylight and darkness. I'm a little old-fashioned.
Oh, boy.
I care about substance. I care about policy. I care about facts.
It's going to be him, I think.
I care about people being accountable to their lives. What I saw tonight was Donald Trump weakness masquerading as strength. The guy was incapable, as the senator said, answering any question directly, obfuscating, pointing fingers, and more important than anything else, disgusted by the fact that I heard ex-president of the United States talk down the American economy, talk down the United States of America.
How could you dare talk down the
As it
economy?
relates to the president, on the substance, on the compare and contrast and economic record, where just in the last 3.5 years, that 15.6 million jobs represents 8 times more jobs than the last 3 Republican presidents combined. 3%
He's a
GDP
slick
growth.
Willie,
And
though.
in a world where we're seeing inflation tamed down 2/3, an economic policy and a vision for the future.
He's very
bring back American,
presidential.
manufacturing. I was very proud of the president tonight.
Do you know who he
from
was
my humble
married to?
perspective, this is not about
They did.
style. This is about
Kimberly
delivering
Guilfoyle.
results for the American people.
Oh, that's right.
They have a
And tonight,
child.
I think
Ew.
Joe Biden
Yeah, I know.
not only asserted himself, he reminded people of his accomplishments. and
So,
his vision.
are you telling me that Trump's getting sloppy seconds?
Yeah.
Would you replace
Eric?
Joe Biden?
Look, I think first of all, let's be very
Don.
California
Don.
Governor Gavin Newsom there, part of a team of Biden supporters first giving their individual statements about how they think their candidate did, and then we expect them to answer a couple of questions. This is the president's strategy tonight, his campaign strategy tonight. Politico reported earlier.
Man, this is gonna be they're oh yeah, the wheels are spinning, dude. Wade, it's going crazy, man.
Oh, are we still live?
Yeah, we're still alive for the moment. I'm getting kind of tired, but yeah. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, CNN's calling for Joe to step down, man.
Yep.
Yep. Tomorrow morning is gonna be a news day. It's gonna be interesting to see. I'm gonna spend some time cutting up some of the show. At least the second part of the show we got. Well, there was some interesting clips in there. Especially of our reactions mostly to the CNN hosts right after the post debate. That's going to make some good material. Yeah, it's going to make some good content. Because that was pretty cool to see, man. I've never seen CNN like that in full like panic mode. Isn't that wild? That was great, man.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was really great. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna let me see what I'm gonna do here. I think I'm gonna kind of whoa, what happened?
Where'd you go?
I went away.
Come back.
I went away.
Come back.
Hang on. I'm trying. Where did I go? Oh, there I am. Oh, there I am. I got too many scenes. I got lost. I didn't know what scene I was supposed to go into. All right. Well, hey, I am not as happy as I could be about Trump's performance. I thought it was okay. I thought he could have been done a little bit better. It was okay.
I thought it was very good.
Did you?
I did.
Yeah. Well,
not perfect, but I thought
no. But I thought he was pretty reserved, and
he was
I thought
very
he did.
disciplined.
I thought he was more disciplined than he ever was, and I think he just needed to be a little bit more disciplined than he usually was. And then all the CNN commentators are all saying hyperbolically how off the hook he was and crazy, and but people only say that crap so much. You kind of heard it for yourselves. People heard it for themselves. But Joe, oh boy, yeah, just really did not inspire confidence apparently in a lot of people over at CNN, and they just they were freaking out. I mean, the first three people, like 1, 2, 3, said, "Oh, this is the worst thing that could have possibly happened." And I just find that just funny as hell because I hate CNN, man. I hate CNN. I hate MSNBC, especially after watching 2 hours of that crap tonight. Talking about, they just make shit up, make shit up. And then they say that everything Donald Trump says, it's a lie. And it's all projection. And I hate projection. It really pisses me off. It's like the little kids game. I know you are, but what am I? 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 Right? You just want to bitch slap somebody after a while. There you go. Exactly. Man, so, oh, God. Yeah, so hopefully tomorrow we're going to wake up and the news is going to be CNN. It looks like CNN is going to be the news. And I'm curious whether MSNBC is melting down as much as well. And I don't know. But I'm really glad that I watched CNN and their commentary rather than jumping over to Fox News or MSNBC, man. That was pretty wild to watch that meltdown. So anyway, it's probably late, and I think we should kind of wrap this up. And really enjoyed having you here. Enjoyed interacting on the comments and everything. Like, subscribe, share, all that kind of stuff. We've got a link tree over there if you want to support us. You can buy us a cup of coffee. Leave a tip on X, anything like that. We really enjoyed having you. I'm glad I did not have a heart attack when the generator went off. I was so mad. And if you guys, worked to find me again, I scrambled in here as fast as I could, and the internet wouldn't boot up real fast. And I was like, I had to, of course, I couldn't just start the stream all over again. I had to set up Restream, and I'm copying and pasting numbers and all this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I finally, got it, and I was glad that you had enough interest to stick around and seek us back out and find us again and hang with us for a while. Yeah. I hope that you felt like we shared some history together, because I think we did. Because I've never quite seen, it's like a Chinese fire drill over at CNN right now.
Oh, it's wild.
So anyway, I'm going to go tune in and watch more of it, right?
Yep.
Because I can't, I bought a TV thing or subscribed to a TV thing to get the free service, YouTube TV.
Yep.
But when I put it in OBS, they have this code in there that blacked it out. You know, you get to see the play button and all that stuff at the bottom, but you can't see anything. So I can't broadcast it, but I can go watch it, and I get a day and a half more to watch that. So I'm going to go watch CNN burn some more, right?
Yep.
So we enjoyed having you here. Thank you very much, Hippie Chick. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for being my sound engineer today. Yeah, a little round of applause for us. A little round of applause for everybody out there. And we enjoy having you, and thank you very much. And we will see you, probably tomorrow, because I'm going to probably have a lot of things to say about this tomorrow.
Come on, man.
Yeah, come on, man.
Come on, man.
All right, man. All right, thank you very much for being here. Good night. I'm tired. I love you guys. We'll
Good
talk
night.
to you later.
Mwah.
Good night.
We just say good night, Gracie. Good night, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.
Oh.